All right. People are hopping on. We are letting people in. I see Lisa and Terry.
There's a ton of people coming on.
I see Chuck, Peggy from Texas, Matt, D, Jenny, Stephanie. Great to see everybody today. I hear some babies in the background.
Babies are good.
Babies are awesome. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
Nice shirt, Mark Broadway.
Joyce Sims. Thank you, Joyce, for helping out for the auction. I heard that there a lot of good things happened in that auction last week. I'm excited to hear that. Sharon says, howdy, all. Howdy to you, Sharon. Missed you last week. Lori. Who else is on here? Anne. People just keep hopping on. Rick, Matt, Mark Broadway, Lisa Bell.
Got a lot of friends that are coming in. It's good to see you guys.
I see that deal maker shirt, Mark. I was going to wear that deal maker shirt, Jim, last week. I had it all planned and everything, man.
I know.
I'm telling you. I heard I missed a really good event last week. I'm excited to hear about it though. But I had good reason. I'm actually going to show some of that good reason this morning.
Yes, you did.
So you guys are all having a good day. So we'll wait for about another minute before I kind of get started with some of the preliminaries. Thank everybody for being on this morning. Kind of feel like a family every month we get on here, and I bring on a new guest every single month. Sometimes the guests have a presentation or something they want to teach. We had an amazing call a couple of months ago with Ann Kelly, really going through economics. Like she's like a wizard, Jim. Yes. I mean, you've probably already seen that too. When it comes to economics and understanding that, we've had Tom Barry on, we've had Eddie Wilson on, we've had some really super smart people on, and one of my best real estate friends in the entire world is Jim Ingersoll. So I'm super excited to have Jim on today. And you guys don't laugh because I'm serious.
No,
like
I know.
Closest friends when it comes to real estate. I got a lot of good close friends and a lot of people I've done millions of dollars worth of deals with, and some really good families that I feel like our companies have actually helped them with financial freedom. I've got people that work for me, but honestly, in real estate, one of my closest best friends in the entire world is Jim and Cheryl Ingersoll. And we met about, I think, 10, 11, 12 years ago nowadays. We've been saying 10 years for so long. But Jim is honestly he's not just a real estate investor. He's really just a good guy. And every once in a while, I'll get a text from him. Hey, thinking about you. How's it going? I try to do the same with him and some of the friends that I am. And I'd love to encourage everybody to do that as well. You don't know what that means to people when they're going through things, and everybody's going through something. You know, my pastor used to say, be kind to everybody because everybody is having a tough day. And Jim is one of those people that, like, if you're his friend and you're going through a tough time, he's more than willing to take some time and be with you there. So I really appreciate Jim for that. I'm going to share my screen and kind of get started here. Appreciate everybody, like I said, for being on. Welcome to our call. Today's call is with Jim Ingersoll. I just gave you guys a little bit of about a prelim about him. Jim is from Richmond, Virginia, and he's also got a second market in Florida. And I'm glad that he does that. I kind of have my market's in Northwest Indiana. I have a second market in Pensacola, Florida. And so we have a little bit of that kind of going on, together there. And we like to talk about the different things that we're doing. And a lot of times, Jim is such a giver that he's normally tries to find everybody else and tries to help you teach from everybody. He tries to get everybody else in the world to teach you guys. And a lot of times we don't really get to hear about what Jim is doing. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to have this call and say, hey, Jim, what do you think about the real estate market? What are you feeling? What are you seeing? What are you doing? And then at the end, he has a really unique way that he raises private money and does some different deals with partners. I'm actually in a mastermind with Jim in it, and he went through this a couple of weeks ago. And I thought it was really good. And if he's got some time, I'd love for him to be able to help, with that and kind of just give a bird's eye view of kind of how he does that. And honestly, this is a great call to have questions. So if you guys have questions, get those ready. I know our calls don't have a lot of questions normally. Normally we have a lot of just people speaking, and then people just have fun, and they're great calls, great content. But this call would be a great one if you guys have your questions. I always like to go over me since last month, and I'm telling you, this last month for me has been a whirlwind. It has literally been highs and lows, and we're going to go through some of that. So first of all, I started out, I know if you guys have been on these calls, you guys know that every year for the last couple of years, I've been raising money, and I've been taking helping our seniors at our Christian school go on a missions trip / senior trip. So as you can see, they got to have some fun. They went zip lining, they went whitewater rafting, they went to the beach, they went to some really cool places, but they also got to minister in the church there. They also went to a orphanage, and we're going to see some more pictures here. So there's a picture of their church. There's also a basilica church there, and that was pretty interesting. There's a bunch in Costa Rica. The weather is amazing. It's like Hawaii. I had no idea that it's just really like constant 60 to 80 almost year round. Sometimes it's a little bit more humid. Sometimes it's rainy season. But also got to go to, actually have the cup with me here too. Look at there. So got to go to one of the only Starbucks. So Starbucks normally buys their beans from everybody else. And then they just double roast their beans, and that's why you have that same burnt taste that you go to every single Starbucks. But they actually have their first farm that they ever started was the actual farm that they're growing their own beans is right here in Costa Rica. I got to go there, and there's signs up that say, the only Starbucks farm. I learned later that maybe Starbucks has a couple more farms in other parts of the country, but this was pretty cool experience. There's a couple guys playing checkers with bottle caps. So I thought that was pretty interesting. As well. Got to go see this place called I forgot what it's called, but there's like 7 or 8 of these waterfalls. It was beautiful. We had a great time there with that. Got to go on a potato cart, got to go on a ride there on the potato cart with those bulls pulling us. So that was pretty fun. And then we went to this children's home, this orphanage, and got to learn about these kids that were there that literally like people have completely forgotten about. Like this girl right here, me and my family, her name is Lilium. Me and my family decided to like sponsor her there was sponsorship opportunities for people. So for $35 a month, we can sponsor her, and that will pay for most of what she needs there. But get this is not just like a girl that has gotten forgotten about. This is a girl that actually has a brother and sister at home that her parents still take care of. And when I heard that story, my heart just kind of melted, and I'm just like, to me, like, it's bad enough at times that when we go through different times in our life where we feel like nobody cares, but to think that our own parents care about a brother and sister, but don't care about us, I can't even imagine that. So I wanted to make her feel special. We got some pictures with her, and we'll be writing back and forth with her and our family as well. So just so you know, as bad as you think you may have it in this world, sometimes there's always somebody else that has it worse. And then if kind of a high, with doing this missions trip and kind of feeling like, hey, this is really partly why God placed me on this earth, is to kind of support missionaries and to help kids see the need, and also kind of help kids get there, and also be able to help people like Lilium here. I come home at 12 o'clock at night, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, I hear that my building is on fire. Not a good way to start the rest of your week. So if you've been to my building, you know this is the back warehouse. It didn't really hurt our offices, other than the back offices. The fireman, poked holes in or cut holes with the chainsaws in our roof, and sprayed the water down, got this fire out. We had 11 different fire departments here because there's no fire hydrant out front of our building. So it was definitely and I'm still dealing with this mess. We don't even have power back on yet because of the way that things work in our county, and having to get the fire report and everything to them. But we're going through it. So please pray for us on this. Pray that the insurance, pays out what we need in order to be able to be made whole. We had a lot of contents lost there. And honestly, at this point, loss of the building, because we haven't been able to use the building since then. And I'm hoping to be able to get back in the next month or so, but it still smells like smoke. We've had the main parts of the building cleaned, but just pray for us that. Also, this is my office. So I made this quick video for my employees. I just came to my office to see if there were some things in my office. And I just saw this little sign here. Just wanted to remind everybody. So that sign was flipped upside down on my desk, and it was almost like the Lord just put that there. I turned it over and I was like, man, I've got to remember this. Like, in all things give thanks. And I needed to remind myself, hey, this day is a day that sucks in my opinion. But at the end of the day, God says in all things be thankful and to be and be grateful. So I just want to remind everybody this morning, and Jim is a good person that tries to remind people of this, to try to be thankful every day. Doesn't matter how bad you think you've got it. Doesn't matter, what's going on in your life. You always got something to be thankful for. And then right after that, I helped our radio station. We have a Christian radio station, WRTW, the Key FM. And I helped them with Share-a-thon. They do it twice a year. Got to spend, a day and a half on the radio, helping our station raise money to be able to stay on the air. Actually, Zach right there, he went with us last year to Belize, the guy in the light blue shirt. And now he's actually surrendered to go to the mission field to Belize. So he was on our Belize trip last year. So I think that was pretty exciting as well. And then this is why I was not at Dealmaker last week. I had planned to go to Dealmaker. Jim knows I had my plane tickets. I had my hotel booked. Everything was ready to go. And then Friday, while I'm on the air, I get a phone call from my wife that this was going to happen the following Wednesday.
Lily Olson. Me as principal of Hannah Baptist High School, I dubbed you into the National Honor Society.
So Lily got inducted as a junior into the National Honor Society, and it's kind of hard enough as it is. And then she's got a small school, so you can only have a certain percentage of the kids actually make it. So she does really work really hard. We're super proud of her, super proud daddy moment. And if you have kids, you guys know how that feels, to know that your kid kind of got rewarded for a lot of hard work that they got. Her class is a super smart class, and there was quite a few of them that actually got put in for the size of their class. But super proud of her. And I am super sorry I couldn't make it to last week's Dealmaker. But Jim and I talked to Jim, and honestly, we both kind of agreed, hey, like, these are those moments that you can't get back. These are those things that only happen once in a lifetime. And I really wanted to make sure that I was there for that, and really wanted to make sure that Lily knows that I support her and I appreciate her hard work and everything that she does to be able to make sure that she made that happen. So if you guys are on these calls every month, you kind of know I like to promote other people's events as well. I've been promoting Dealmaker for a while. Right now, the only future event I have that I'm promoting this time is the Investor Addicts Cruise. So if you guys want to go on this cruise next year, it's investors all week. We had a super ton amount of fun. I think Peggy's on this call. I don't know if Tom is on or not, but we've got a lot of people on the call. But if you guys want to sign up, you guys can go to investoraddicts.com. I can promise you, this is how I met Jim Ingersoll. Just so you guys know, this is how me and Jim Ingersoll met on a investor cruise. So it used to be called the IRA Fund Cruise, and then kind of turned to Financial Friends Network Cruise, and now people kind of starting their own things here, Investor Addicts Cruise. I can vouch for this cruise. Some of the speakers that were at Jim's event last week were there. And they'll be there at this next year as well. February 11 through 18 next year. I promise you guys will not be upset that you guys make that call. Upcoming, do want to remind you guys about the September 9 through 11 free-for-all event that we will have hopefully in my office if everything gets back up and running. If not, we will still have it. I promise you. I'm already looking at secondary venues if we have to make that happen. But we have a lot of fun. The whole reason why I do this is because I love to connect people. So I really want to help you with your network. But I tell you, like, there is an emphasis on fun at this event. Okay, so we do some things at nighttime. We did karaoke last year, and I'll be honest with you guys. If you guys just heard Tom Perry last week at Dealmaker, this guy can sing. So he is multi-talented. He is not only a singer. I heard last week he was a great auctioneer as well. So who knows what else Tom can do. But we also do horror stories. If you got a real estate horror story, you'd love to tell people. We love to do those as well. And we had John Morey getting people to dance last year as well. So I don't know if we'll make that happen or not. But we have a lot of fun with that. Love to do deals. We actually have a deal maker board where it's kind of like, I shouldn't call it a deal maker board because that's Jim's thing, but we basically say I have and I want. So something that you have and something that you want, we love to kind of get people connected there at the event. So you guys can go to goodsuccess.com and sign up for that. And then also last year's videos are on the website as well. So if you guys, anybody's interested in kind of seeing what types of presentations, I'm a little different. I look at things from not just real estate, but like big picture and financial freedom and how many other different ways can we also reach financial freedom. So there's a little bit more emphasis on some other asset classes as well, but I'm excited about what we've got going. We do have a guy that does gold from Melkovany will be there. I'm super excited about him as well. And we've got some really great speakers that are going to be coming to this event. Also want to remind everybody to join the Facebook group. If you guys want to join there, you guys can find out more information about us. And I always remind everybody, every call, to be a conduit, not a bucket. We're here on this earth, not just so we can live and so we can have a good life and so we can die, but we can invest in other people. I think I look at investing as not just investing money, but what am I investing in my time and my skill and my network? How can I help other people? God's given me something. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if it's time, talent, treasure, network, whatever that is, not just so you can have it. It's so you can give it. If you think about a tub, if you fill up a tub with water and just let it sit for a couple months, what's going to happen to that? It's going to rot. And it's going to stink. And that's what I think a lot of times, investors especially get in that rut of it's mine. And instead of trying to figure out how to help other people. So that's honestly what this whole call is all about, is to just be a conduit to try to, connect you guys to my network, and to help you guys as much as I can and kind of give you knowledge, give you connections, and hopefully give you freedom at some point in your life. Next call, another one of those great people, and it's got the wrong person's name there, Amelia. So we probably need to change that. It says Jim Ingersoll at the bottom of there. But our next call is actually another good friend of mine, another person I can tell you will jump on a call with you if you're having a tough time. Wendy Sweet. So make sure we change that name there, Amelia. It looks like it's got the wrong name there. But Wendy Sweet, I think Wendy might have even jumped on this call. Wendy, are you on? I don't know.
Yes, I am. And
okay,
I don't
she's
mind
on. There
being
you
called
go.
Jim Ingersoll.
Yeah, you don't want to be called Jim Ingersoll?
No, I do.
Oh, you do? Okay, I was going to say, I'm like, Jim's a good, if I'm going to be called the wrong name, I'd love to be called Jim Ingersoll rather
That's right.
than some other people. I can definitely tell you guys that. So next month's call is June 13th. It's a Tuesday again at 10 a.m. Central Time. We will have Wendy on, and Wendy has an amazing group. I try to get on as often as I can, called Sunrisers. She'll probably tell you a little bit about that as well. But Wendy has a hard money lending company. She also does short-term rentals. And she's got a wealth of knowledge. She's been around. She's got a huge network. And she's also a huge giver, which is kind of what attracted me to her personally. She's a strong Christian. And that's another thing that definitely attracts me to her as well. We've got a bunch of people that have, it looks like Jim stepped out for a second. He's about ready to get on here, but Sharon says howdy. Mark Broadway says howdy. Anything going on here? Love Costa Rica. Oh, Jim said that. What else we got going on here? Oh, somebody's got some properties in Costa Rica that she rents out. That's pretty cool. Shiloh. So if anybody's interested in going there, look at each property sleeps up to 24 people. That's pretty cool. So Wendy, since we got you on here and Jim's not quite ready and he's pretty much ready to go here, what are some things that people could expect to kind of hear from you for next month?
Well, that depends because as you know, real estate changes what, daily or almost
Yeah,
with
it
the
seems like
weather.
it has been. It seems like it has been.
Look, here he is.
All right. We were having to start next month's call for a second there. So Jim's got a pretty picture here, but now we're gonna have to go to Jim's real picture there. Also, if you guys are local, if anybody's local in Northwest Indiana, we do have a meetup group. We decided to skip it this month just because of my fire and everything I have going on. But we're gonna have the same speaker that we had we were going to have coming up this Thursday on June 15th. So the call with Wendy will be on June 13th, and then that Thursday right after there will be with Dave Overman, and he's been a flipper for many years. So he's going to talk about flipping houses and how he partners with people as well. The game that I did at Dealmaker a couple of years ago that I was going to do, the whole Busy Bee game, I actually learned from Dave Overman. So definitely got to give him credit for that. It's a pretty cool networking game, and I will do this again in the future if I get the opportunity to, from Jim Ingersoll. But Dave's a good guy. He's been an investor for a long time. You have a lot to learn from him. So, and if we can't have this at our office, I do have another location in Cherville. So if you guys are local and you guys want to come to this, let us know. You guys can get with us or email me or text me or Junior if you guys have his information. So without further ado, we have the one, the only Jim Ingersoll. How are you doing today, sir?
Good to see you. How are you?
Well, we already told you a little bit about how I was, but I'm busy. I'm a lot more busy. It's very inconvenient. Let's use that as the
I can
best
only
term
imagine, Tom.
to use going through that. So how was Dealmaker last week, Jim? I'd love to hear from you on Dealmaker.
And just so everyone knows, I've been nobody really knows this, Tom, but except I told you, is I've been sick since Dealmaker ended. So this is like day 6, and I'm fighting like right through the edge of pneumonia. They're treating me for pneumonia, and that was my doctor who called. That's why I took that. So if I start coughing, you guys will understand. But Dealmaker was unbelievable, and it's a lot to process for me. I don't know about the rest of you guys that were there. But yes, Dealmaker was sort of mind-blowing and sort of an epic event once again, Tom. You've been with me for many years there. And so it was really good. And, Augie called me a little while ago this morning. We raised $100,000 for wheelchairs.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which is so, and again, we had like this side thing with Augie that if somehow a miracle happened and we raised $100,000, he'd go get a haircut. I don't know if you've seen him lately, Tom, but he's got like this ponytail thing in the back. That goes back to 2020 when the government shut his barber shop down. And he's just said, I'm just never going to get another haircut. That's all it was. So his hair's been growing for 3 years. And so we said, if we can raise $100,000, would you go get a haircut? We were trying to get him to shave his beard, but he wouldn't do it. And so anyways, he's headed to the Philippines for 3 weeks. And when he gets back, I think we're going to do like a video of him getting his haircut. So
we got to see it happen. That's kind of, I remember, were you on the cruise with Quincy?
Yes.
Okay. So like that goes back to Quincy Long, and Quincy went bald.
Crazy things happen, Tom. They were trying to throw me out of an airplane. So like they wanted me, and nobody really knows this either, but like they're like, oh, won't you jump out of an airplane for the kids need the wheelchairs? I'm like, no, Cheryl will not let me jump out of an airplane. When I was younger, I used to want to, but as I've gotten older, I've lost my edge on that one.
Yeah, me too. And my wife has always been the same way and had the same stance as well.
No, not throwing me out of no airplane.
I'm allowed to go rappelling, just so you know. So if anybody wants to go rappelling down a mountain, we're cool there. But I
did that zip lining in Costa Rica, and it was really, really high and unbelievable experience. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, zip lining, we do that quite often. Actually, my favorite zip lining experience was actually in South Dakota. We went over an 800 feet, 2-mile ravine, and the Mount Rushmore was right up here. You could see it as
Unbelievable. I love it.
this ravine. It was really
I'd
cool.
like to try rappelling. That sounds like fun.
So that was kind of giving me my next question. I heard that the auction went pretty well, and we found out that Tom Berry has some more talents that we didn't know he had, and everybody was telling me
So
how great
good.
of a job he did with that.
I've got a little bit of it on video. I'll post it to my Facebook group in a little while.
That's awesome. So I thought the count was 80,000. So now we're hearing this count might be 100,000 that
100.
got raised.
Yeah.
That is
How about
is
that,
really-
Peggy? Huh? Can you believe it? Joyce, where you at?
That's really cool.
Mind blowing. So I was getting Wendy, as we were finishing up that hot seat, I was like not feeling well. And nobody knows, but Cheryl and my daughter, anyways, at the end, Carissa, my daughter, is like, we're going to escape. So she like helped me leave kind of abruptly. It wasn't appropriate to hug 225 people on my way out. And see, so anyways, that's why I did just a little bit quicker than I wanted to, but it's a lot to process. It was really, really good. We gave a lot of money away, and that's what it's all about.
That's awesome.
Peace and freedom for everybody.
That's good. It's awesome.
So it was
I
great.
appreciate you being on, Jim. We are going to try to keep this right to that hour. So we only have about a half an hour left on this. But I kind of wanted to start the call by just kind of getting your feelings on just, in general, maybe just some
Market?
general feelings about the market, the real estate world.
Okay. Well, you can turn data any way you want. David Phelps did a really good job. I really enjoyed his presentation and his economics and the inflation and the rates doubling and going up faster than they've ever gone. It was really, and I love David Phelps, his friend, but the real estate market that I'm in are steady. And the market in Virginia that I'm in is strong. I think the markets in Florida are steady, but the markets here in Virginia are crazy. There's so little inventory that anything that you're flipping or trying to sell will likely go to multiple offers, especially on single family homes in particular. I know people that are getting 6 figures above list right now in Richmond. And I heard of one today that was closer to 200,000 over list on like a $500,000 house. So this for 500, it sells for 700. So, say what you want, but the market's very, very hot. The rental market's also very hot. And I think in Florida, it's a little bit different, maybe, Tom. I don't know how your market is in Florida and Pensacola.
No, so like it is interesting. I kind of felt like we went through this period of time for about 6 to 9 months where everybody was kind of afraid. And it was almost like once the spring hit this year, things kind of started to change. And I was interested to kind of ask you about your 2 different markets. You kind of already mentioned them. So you're in Richmond, Virginia, and then your Florida market is where, like Polk County in the middle there of the
It's right in the middle and primarily in Polk.
So so definitely markets are different in the different parts of the country. Really, honestly, I almost feel like a lot of our markets kind of almost took a reset. They kind of went down because there wasn't a lot of people buying.
Right.
And then now that they reset and kind of like I almost feel like there's better footing now. There's actually some footing.
Yeah.
Now we're not seeing $100,000 over list price. So I'm not gonna, I do
It's
have
crazy,
a really
right?
That's crazy. Cause I do have a really nice flip that's about to go on the market in Pensacola in that 400 range. I got an amazing deal when nobody was buying. Like everybody was running for the hills.
The end of
6
last
months
year was a
ago.
good time to buy.
Yes, and I got this great deal, about a 2,700 square foot place in north side of Pensacola, and I put about 100 into it, and I'm into about 225, and it should sell for about 400. and it should be a great flip. But honestly, like, it's just, it's really, but my realtor's coming to me saying, maybe we need to list it higher, like, so I don't know, like, I don't really feel like, the bottom is falling out of us. Like, I kind of felt like it was possible for it to happen, at least in some markets. But Northwest Indiana seems to be, and that is definitely one thing I'm hearing around the country is inventory. We still have issues with inventory.
Low.
Like, it
Low.
almost like it started to creep up, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden the spring hit, and we're really kind of and we're not seeing as many properties be listed even as we were 6 to 9 months ago. So inventory definitely does crazy things, and we're starting to see interest rates kind of start to pop down a little bit. I'm starting to see residential
We're
rates
adjusting to the 6+.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I'm starting to see rates a little under 6 right now. So I'm not sure where you guys are seeing them, but retail rates we're seeing just a little under 6. So that's kind of what we're feeling right now in the real estate market. So are you hearing anything else from around the country, Jim, about the market or anything?
No, I think,
areas?
every year there are people that predict we're going to have a crash. And some of the people, and we both know them, Tom, have predicted it 5-6 years in a row, especially in 2020. When COVID hit, that was like the black swan that was just going to take out 20%.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. And the
We had this
inventories
major
are just-
dip low, and then it went really fast.
but yeah, exactly. And so I know investors who sold a good chunk of their rental portfolio in 2020. Now, are you thankful that you didn't?
Yeah, I sold some of mine. I don't know. I feel like, we held on to some, but I know for sure part of my markets, we still got more than when we could get now for some of our
That's
properties.
pretty
So
good.
maybe they still keep going up. I don't know. Maybe we see some, maybe rates turn around and the Fed decides that they're gonna
I
get
don't
their
know.
heads out of the rear end. Right now I actually feel like they're fueling inflation by having higher rates. But
But you
anyways,
gotta, there's a lot of warning signs. There's
absolutely.
personal consumer debt's way up. And the delinquency rate on credit cards is increasing. Delinquency rate on car loans is increasing. The average new car loan is over $700 a month. So, I mean, they're hitting the red line, I think.
Yeah,
Between a soft landing and a hard landing,
I didn't get to hear David Phelps's presentation, but I always enjoy him. And just the fact that you said what he mentioned, that you can twist data to any way that you want to twist it. There's a lot of wisdom in that statement. So definitely be on the lookout for that. So that's kind of a general feel overall. I'd love to kind of just hear from you, Jim, personally. Like, what is your deal makeup? What does your deal makeup look like? Over the last couple of years, what are you doing now? How many deals are you doing a year? Maybe not even how many, but what kind of deals are you doing in Virginia? What kind of deals are you doing in Florida?
Well, most of my deals now are with my kids. I'm really enjoying working with both my daughters a lot. They're building rental portfolios and doing flips. But over the last couple of years, we've done quite a lot. It was about 2 years ago we started investing, 2 or 3 years ago in Florida. And so that started that journey off and has been really positive. We started working in Polk County because I was looking between Orlando and Tampa, and I really liked I-4 and the corridor there, and that people are migrating from up north, Florida anyways. But in Florida, one of the things you got to really watch is your insurance, because our insurance is going up like crazy this year. That's just a side note to be aware of, because everyone thinks it's so perfect and everything's great, but there are challenges in every market, and that's one of them in Florida.
Yeah.
But we got the first 20 unit apartments there came from a referral because I made a post on Instagram. So you never know how things are going to come around. And we got seller financing and got a really good deal out of that. And that just sort of set our footprint, started in Polk County, and then we just sort of never left that general area. We've been in Auburndale and Winter Haven and Lakeland a lot. Both apartments, and we've been developing some new construction stuff that I do with my IRA. And we just bought another lot last week or so. We're getting ready to build another house. So it'll be a spec home. So we do a little bit of that as well. And we have a vacation rental in Sanibel that's currently gutted because of Hurricane Ian. So be aware of hurricanes in Florida is very important. And I were talking about that before we hit record today. And in Virginia, the last couple of years has been mostly just adding some apartments and some doors, or selling some things along the way. Both are fine, and really working with my kids a lot.
Yeah, I really love the fact that Jim's trying to he's at that point where his kids are all at the age where, you know, they can start building their own future and being a part of that, kind of like not just passing on a legacy of money, but also passing on the legacy. How do you actually do it? Like how do you create it for yourself? I think that's
our whole
really
family's
cool.
all in real estate, Tom. So like my son-in-law Luke's a really busy realtor. Well, Becky is too. And that's okay. But him and Melissa are, they've got furnished rentals, and they're finishing up a flip right now. And then my daughter Krissa was a dietitian, and she quit working at the hospital a couple of years ago and just started building her own rental portfolio and doing some flips along the way as well. That's what she does now as well. So like the whole family is all in, kind of like your event, all in.
We're trying. You never want to force kids. Kids kind of have to come around on their own to kind of see what they can do in real estate. But kind of getting them involved young. For us, we're just trying to like get them involved with some of their IRA stuff, and trying to put some deals in their IRAs and their education savings accounts, and that kind of stuff is kind of where we've been going personally on that.
Hey, my grandkids I'm starting to talk to my grandkids about it, because my grandson Brooks is 9, and we were talking about flipping houses. You know, he wants to be a YouTuber, I think, but I said, "You want to work and flip a house together?" He said, "I would love to, Pops, but I don't know how to turn the houses upside down." So I said, "We got some things to work on."
Doesn't know how to turn the houses upside down. There you go. Jenny White wants you to adopt her, Jim. Just so you know.
Jenny, I am cheering for you every single day. You're my favorite pharmacist in the country. You have such an incredibly bright future ahead of you.
That's awesome. Cindy Crane says that's the good stuff. That's absolutely true, Cindy. When you can kind of get your kids to do this kind of stuff, that's awesome. So I'd love for you to get into, if you've got a couple of minutes, Jim, and I apologize that you're not feeling good. I feel bad, but
It's okay.
I appreciate you being on. But we talked about you maybe explaining a little bit about how you're, you know, obviously you got the seller finance deal. That's a whole different ball game here.
Yeah.
But one of the ways that you come up with money partners and kind of come together with that, you kind of taught a little bit about this on the Inner Circle. I do want to let everybody know that Jim and a partner of his has a Zoom mastermind that they get together every week, I think, right? So every week we get together.
It'll be tomorrow at noon, Tom. If you can join us, and Wendy's in as well. But tomorrow's our finance anything, so it's all about financing through our Inner Circle. Is a really good group. We've got 500 people in that group now.
Yeah, it's on my calendar. I should be able to make that call. I can't make every call, but I do try to make as many of those as I possibly.
You're awesome.
But no, and honestly,
yeah. Let me talk about passive investing a little bit first.
Yeah, go for it.
Because there's 2 ways to finance everything. There's debt financing, like points and interest. If somebody goes to Conduit Capital and they say, "I want to get a loan," you'll tell them it's 10% interest and 3 points, or whatever your going rate is. If you go to a bank and you go to a DSCR lender, they're going to say, "All right, 7.5% or 8.5% probably now, and a couple of points or whatever their origination is." That's typical debt financing. But one nobody talks too much about is equity financing, and I think that is a big opportunity. I've done a lot of it over the last several years. And I've done it from both sides of the deal. There's two sides to every deal. You got somebody who finances and somebody who's actively doing the deal. And I've done both. But I talked about Florida a little bit, building new construction. In that case, I'm the financier partner. So my Roth IRA will finance the new construction. You guys know it's hard to finance new spec homes, right? It's one of the more difficult things to finance. That and vacation rentals too is another one, but so it's not easy to finance them. So my Roth will finance it. And then we've got a builder and a partner that will build the house. And then when it sells, we split it 50-50. So the last couple we've done, we're building at about $115 to $120 a square foot. So we got a good price on that. And they're very affordable new construction homes. So roughly we might build them for $200,000 all in, and then sell them for around $300 or $325 all in. And then we just take that net profit and we split it 50-50. So 50% of it goes to my Roth and 50% goes to my JV partner. In that case, I'm completely passive because it's in my Roth. I don't charge any monthly payments either, by the way. So it's very easy for me to work with my builder partner on that. And it's easy for him. Now he's given up 50% of the deal, but he's got easy financing terms. So he doesn't mind doing that. And I think that's a good point, Tom, because we can all say like, I hate giving up 50% of the deal. I do too, but 50% of something is better than 0% of nothing.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I think especially when you start talking about recession, and especially when, we start to, and I know Jim kind of started this call off saying, real estate's fine, we're never going to have any issues, but really at the end of the day, like I think it's a hedge. If you ask me, it's a protection of risk. And I actually think it's a whole lot less risky from a financial standpoint. Now it's a whole lot more risky potentially with the wrong partner from a personnel standpoint.
Well, yeah, we talked about that before we hit record too. The operator is always key. But that's it. You talk about leverage. Like George Antone was messaging me yesterday. He wants to get on Zoom. He wants to come speak at Dealmaker is what he wants to do because he's great. And
I love
he's a good fit, right? And so this happens to me throughout. This happens all the time. People want to I don't know. People just contact me. Vina Jones was just trying to call me for some reason. People start contacting me and they'll want to speak. And George's books on leverage are phenomenal. But when you think about it, equity financing is the easiest, most safe, risk adverse financing that you can do. Whether it's a rental or a flip, either way, because think of it, Laurie, let me give you an example as a rental. And on these, Tom, I'm on the other side. So I'll take a small dollar IRA, like my grandkids' future inherited IRA, which doesn't have enough money to buy a house, but wants to invest in real estate in a rental. And we're going to buy a rental property. And then, so that's a small dollar IRA, but it needs the capital. So we'll find a large dollar IRA and we'll partner or joint venture on that. And the small dollar IRA will own the property and rent it, rehab it and rent it. And then all of that cash flow and future profit is split 50-50. So there's like monthly cash flow. And then in 2 or 3 years or 4 years or whenever we decide, we'll go ahead and sell it. And the upside profit will be split 50-50. So again, the small dollar IRA only pays out to the large dollar IRA when rent is received. So the ones that I've done, we've never missed a rental payment. Like I've had no evictions on any of these, but if there was an issue, then there's no payment due. So it's very low risk on your leverage. But again, you're giving up half of the deal because I could do that outside of a tax-free environment and just fund it 100% and keep it all. So I've been on both sides of these. quite a bit.
Yeah, and when you said that to me, I was like, huh, if you're willing to be on both sides of these, then there obviously has got to be pros and cons to being on either side, right? So maybe let's kind of go through, like, obviously, if you're the borrower, I feel like you can definitely see the pros. You definitely, I mean, obviously, because if you're the borrower, you don't have the cash to begin with, right? I mean, you wouldn't be able to do the deal without the larger dollar amount. But
It's a
on
good
the
way to
con of
start
that,
too, Tom, because both my girls, when they were in college, started flipping houses in the summer. And they did equity financing. They didn't have money to make monthly payments and stuff. But boy,
Right.
that was a lot better than working a summer job too.
yeah, so like they wouldn't have never been able to do the deal if
Never.
they didn't have that other piece. So like, yes, you're giving up 50% of the cash flow and 50% of future appreciation, and everything. But at the end of the day, you would never been able to do that deal unless you had it. Now, on the other side, let's talk about the lender. Like, what's in it for the lender? Like, how do we position this? Because I feel like at the end of the day, if you're willing to do both, you've obviously
Mhm.
seen the benefit of that. So what are the pros and cons if you're in the lending position?
Well, think of all the money sitting at these self-directed IRA custodians uninvested because they don't know how to even get an investment going. So first of all, it gets you into the investment game. You need to get your money active. Second, it is very passive. Third, you start to learn about how all this works and pulls together and how to protect your deal and things like that. I mean, so in the return, by the way, is really good.
So and that's what I was thinking too. Like, so it's kind of the same. The first pro is kind of the same as the borrower, is that they can get into a deal, right? Second of all, it should be very, very passive. If you're the money person in one of these deals, the other person that's the borrower,
Especially
or
if your IRA is involved, it needs to be pretty passive.
right, exactly. And if you don't know a lot about this, you can definitely learn some of this as well. But now you also mentioned return. Do you have any? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but just do you have any kind of examples of what that might look like from both ends of this? And we can kind of put any kind
Well,
of
on the new
fictitious
build, I think
numbers?
I mentioned, I think we're in at like, say, 200, and we might net, we might gross or net somewhere around 300. So, subtract out some additional commission and things like that, and divide it by 2, and then you can figure out the ROI if it took 10 months to do that. I don't know what it is.
So I mean, with those numbers, if it's a 300, gross, and you end up, you're into it 200, so the money lender brought 200 to the table, and let's just say there's another $20,000 in extra cost for closing and
There you
holding
go.
and all that stuff. There's about an $80,000 pot
So it'd
there
be
to
$40,000 of profit on 200 in 10
right.
months.
So I mean, that's a better than a 20, that's better than 10%. It's definitely double digit
Right.
return for the investor. So that's so that
And I
kind
think
of
it's similar if you do the rental model, depending on, how well you do picking the right investment and how well you do managing.
All right, so that was kind of the last question I wanted to get into. So I'm glad you kind of you started with that. So I think there's two main pieces of this, right? Like, so obviously, actually three. First of all, you have to understand the structure, how you're actually going to do this. And we don't have time to get into that today. So we're not going to get into the paperwork and all that, but understanding how to structure these, and that's a whole different call for a different day. And if you're in the gym, the inner circle, I think do you guys record all those calls?
Yep.
And the members are available. Jim actually went through this in great detail a couple times ago. So if you're in Inner Circle, go back and watch the one that Jim did. I promise you it'll be worth your time. But there's two things. I'm not even sure you covered it on that call, but I feel like the two most important pieces of this is, number one, how do I find a deal? And number two, how do I find the right partner? Right?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, you all know as well as I do, if you have the wrong deal or the wrong partner, it doesn't matter what all the other numbers say.
That is true. Due
So how do you
diligence is so important and not talked about a lot.
So how do you find the right deal and how do you find the right partner? What are some tips or some things that you might give to
I
people?
mean, the right deal, you've got to be able to operate as a discount home buyer. I mean, you've got to know your market. So you've got to know your prices. You got to know what it's going to rent. You've got to be experienced as a rehabber, or you're going to over budget all the time, which is harder and harder to stay on budget all the time now.
It is.
And you've got to have your team, like that's got to be a core competency that you should be good at. Buying a house off market and rehabbing it. Those are like the basic things, in my opinion. And then you've got to
knowing
be
your
able to-
numbers, being
Yeah.
experienced in rehab, and having the right team. Those are the
Yeah, it's
three
really
things.
important.
Those are the core things that you better make sure somebody that's doing this knows.
Right. And as
And
far
then
as your operator, I mean, you've got to do due diligence on them, just like you or Wendy would do on a borrower. I mean, you can't just start wiring money. You've got to do some underwriting and, really dig down in, but who you're going to work with. I think the easier part, Tom, is to find the money partner. There's a lot of money looking for deals. So I don't think that's real hard. But if you have a good system for finding deals consistently, and you're a good investor, then you'll be able to structure those if you want to.
So you gave us some really good.
And you could do this on bigger deals too, Tom, because what if Wendy and I were going to do a self-storage together and it was a couple of $1 million, but we needed, $500,000 or $600,000 for the down payment, and Wendy and I didn't really want to fund it ourselves. We could structure in some help for that down payment and give up some equity to do so. Couldn't we do that? We could figure that out, couldn't we, Wendy? So I think that's what prevents people from doing a little bit bigger deals sometimes, is they can't figure out how to stack the capital.
I think the problem is, Jim, is they don't ask. That's the thing, is we know so many people that have money that are willing to lend it, but we're too afraid to ask. And we know that F word, fear, doesn't come from God.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of that as well, Wendy. I don't know if you are. So, life is good as it is, but if we all were willing to seek and ask and knock on the door,
not
everything you
because
need
you
is
asked
right
not.
there.
We don't have too much more time, and I'm trying to be trying to remember Jim here because he's not feeling well. So we probably only
I'm
got
holding
about
up pretty good. I'm surprised.
You are. You're doing good. But I would love to know, so Jim, I'm trying to get into Jim's head a little bit here.
I don't like talking about myself either.
I know you don't. That's why I'm digging just a little bit harder. We're almost done. I promise you. So you gave us those core competencies that you better have if you're a borrower, right? And those are some things that you look for, right? But if you're doing your due diligence on a deal, but if you're doing your due diligence on people, right? So there's two different types of due diligence that you are going to do, right, Jim? Because you're going to do due diligence on people you might lend money to or be the money partner where you're the money. And then you're also going to do diligence. And this is something that we all should be doing. And I think sometimes people act like you have to do more due diligence on your lender. I don't think you have to do more due diligence on your lender, but you should do some due diligence on your lender. I do more due diligence on my borrowers than I do on my lenders, but I do due diligence on my lenders. And there are lenders that I will not allow to loan me money anymore. So not very many. But we should be doing some due diligence on our borrowers for sure. So Jim, if you're going to do a deal with somebody, what are some of those key things that you're looking at? Obviously, Wendy's got her criteria, Conduit Capital has their criteria, but what are you looking for? How what would make you comfortable to do a deal with somebody?
I think experience, and what I've really got to have 100% is on integrity. And that's a difficult one to get to, because I don't know about everyone else on Zoom right now, but there's been people in my life that I've shook their hand and gave them a hug and a hello, and yet, they're not as, they're like committing fraud behind your back. So
Oh, yes.
that's just the reality of it. And that goes, Tom, that goes back to my corporate America days before I was even doing real estate. And I
Mhm.
caught our employees embezzling $600,000 from us. And so, that's how far back some of that goes with me. And that's when things started to click, that you can't always take somebody just because they're charismatic or friendly or nice, that they're going to have high integrity.
Absolutely. So experience is one that Jim says, and then high integrity. And I do think that integrity, I think it matters way more than anything else.
True.
Like, there are some ways to find out integrity as a hard money lender. Like, I kind of feel like credit score does tell me if they have integrity or
point.
not. It does give me a financial picture of if this is somebody I want to do business with or not. So like anything else that you'd add to that? I feel like obviously you're going to vet the deal too, and I think sometimes looking at somebody's competency to vet their own deal, and when they're bringing you a deal, kind of helps me understand, am I going to loan money to this person or not? Right. So maybe just dig in a little bit more on integrity. What are some things that maybe are red flags, or some of the things that show you that, people have integrity or don't have integrity?
I just think it's really, really important. And I don't know all the answers. There's been people that have let me down so many times, Tom, that it's hard to be perfect. And when I'm going to like lend money to somebody, I want to be very, very comfortable with them. Like, Tom, I would lend money to you or Wendy without thinking about it, because I know how high your integrity is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like,
and you want to get to that
something
point.
goes sideways, I know we're going to work it out. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's the point too, is like, I like to ask people, like, tell me about a time where things didn't work out the way you thought they would work out. kind of see
Even
how
in
they
that
react.
case, even in
What's that,
that
Wendy?
case though, Jim, you still, I mean, I love that you would lend me money, no questions asked. Thank you very much. But everything needs to be in writing. You have to have a paper trail.
Oh,
And you should
100%.
still look at the deal, even if it's just, somebody that you've known, loved, trusted, family, especially family, for a long time. You've got to have that paper trail and do your
Yeah.
due diligence like it's somebody you don't know, just to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Yes, the people, the property, and the paperwork.
Paperwork. Yep. People, proper.
All
paperwork.
three are
Yep.
so important.
That's awesome. So I appreciate that. Any due diligence you do on a lender, I mean, at this point, and I know sometimes in our careers, we kind of see, this, from 1,000 miles apart now. And it's kind of obvious to us, somebody we don't want to take money from anymore. But when maybe think back to when you got started, and maybe some of the mistakes and maybe money you might have taken, I don't know, but like any quick things you can do.
No,
to
not really. I think
lender?
there's only one person that I've worked with that Cheryl and I talked about it. We just said, we're not going to work with this person anymore. Well, which I don't want to talk about publicly, really. So, and we haven't taken on really much new people over the last 5 years, to be honest. Because when you start committing to using somebody's money and keeping it active, you've got to have consistent deal flow to keep things going. I mean, that's like a long-term commitment that I've made to people. What we're doing now with some of ours, Tom, is like my kids are taking over some of my private money loans, lenders, I mean. So like people that were lending to Cheryl and I 10 years ago are now starting to lend mostly to my kids. So,
That's awesome.
because I don't need to keep rolling at the level I was at. I don't need to. And so, but now like my kids are getting pretty busy and they're enjoying the returns from my kids. So it's been kind of a neat transition.
That's awesome. So basically, I think what you're saying is you kind of slowing down a little bit on the deal flow, and you're really kind of focusing more on the rentals and like the passive part of,
I'll do more rentals. I would love to buy apartments, self-storage, mobile home park, whatever it is, but you've really got to be careful with rates the way they are right now. So I'm not going to do any deal, but I would do the best deal that I could find right now. I would sign the contract today.
yeah, that's good. I love the fact of doing bigger deals is something we're focusing on ourselves and our own, even our turnkey buyers are really wanting more like duplexes, 4 units and that kind of stuff. So we're really trying to focus more on, 3 units, 4 units, 8 units, for even them as well. But that's awesome. I want to thank you, Jim. Does anybody have any quick questions that you guys can have? We're kind of at the end of time here, but if you guys got any questions, I'd love to, for Jim. I appreciate Jim for being on. Thank you again, Jim. I to me, this is something I think that I'm trying to do more myself as well. So even some of my lenders that I really like to work with, I'm starting to tell them, hey, like I might be interested in doing some, and honestly, I'm looking at doing like partnerships on the larger deals. If I can find a 3 or 4 unit that I can hold for a long time, and maybe they're short-term rentals for us, maybe we can do 3 units as a short-term rental and, partner up with somebody where they're the money person and we're kind of the boots on the ground and we do everything. I'm starting to do some of those deals with people. And I kind of got that idea from Jim and thinking, hey, like, I think it's less risk. I think it's way less risk. I think that's one of the biggest pros of doing those partnership deals is that it's really a whole lot less risk at the end of the day. And I feel like you're giving away part of that equity. And that's the big nut. That's that big thing that you're giving to somebody else. The cash flow might be, not better than if they were a lender. They may actually get more money if they were a lender from a cash flow standpoint, but in the whole deal, they're getting probably more of the whole deal. And I think I think that's a really good.
I like equity financing in the right circumstances. I like doing it in tax advantaged accounts, for instance.
Yes, that's true too. That is definitely true too. So okay, I'm trying to see if they got any questions. Are you willing to do a rental in New Hampshire area?
Not me.
I think the answer is no, but
But you'll find somebody that will. Wendy,
yeah, I'm sure there's somebody on here that's willing to do it in New Hampshire. I'm not looking for that market either. I have 2 markets and I'm pretty happy with the 2 markets that I'm in. And Jim is probably the same way, right?
Yes.
Any book or recommendations for a private lender?
Wendy, who's your friend? I'm not 100% there.
You're talking about Jeff Johnson.
Yeah.
Come on.
So I know
really
David
book.
Phelps.
I've got this book.
This right here.
That's a good book. There you go. So
who's the other guy that was on Sunrisers that does the singing, Wendy?
That does singing?
Yeah, he sang at the end.
Oh, Jay Connor. Yes.
Jay Connor has a book also.
Yes. And then Quincy
David Phelps
Long
also wrote a book. Go ahead.
Who, Tom?
David Phelps. So David Phelps has a book he wrote many, many years ago. And he's actually let other people kind of like, use his book. I know Glenn Stromberg has used his book and kind of put his face on the front of it. It's kind of the same back end of it, but David's book is really good on private lending. If you really want to kind of learn that, I would highly recommend, if you're really looking at trying to learn private lending, go find somebody that you have heard from other people that have the highest level of integrity, like Jim, like Wendy, and other people. Also, yeah, somebody's mentioning Quincy Long's book has a lot of private lending tips in there as well. That's it. I'm telling you, if you want to learn how about self-directed IRAs, like that's literally the textbook right there. Like he literally wrote the textbook for using your self-directed IRAs. But I know somebody asked, will you invest in motels?
Not me personally.
I would to turn it into an apartment complex.
There you go. A small one. I'm looking for some small ones that make sense, because sometimes those small hotels don't look good.
I think a boutique hotel would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially
if
it's close to a
have the right partners to enjoy it.
That's true too. I saw an 8-unit, guys, in Pensacola. It looked like an old, like rundown one, but it's like really close to the beach in Navarre. and they're trying to sell this thing for like $2.8 million for the small little 8-unit, 1-bedrooms each one. And I'm like, what? But they've got the performa where it's like $250,000 a year. And I'm like, what in the world? That's crazy kind of money they can make on the beach. What else we got here? Questions. Do you deal with note buying? I don't think so, but Jim, Wendy, note buying?
So
No, I'm not looking to buy notes personally.
we don't buy them, we create them because we're lenders.
Yeah, I like
but,
to create them once in a
but
while.
we sell notes, and notes is, check out Eddie Speed's class that he does. Tracy Rewey does a lot of great education, and that's Rewey. A lot of great education on buying notes, but notes, it's a great way to be in the business. I'd rather have it created for me than have to create a new one if I didn't have that experience.
I don't want to buy a non-performing one. I know that.
LJW Walker says I buy notes. So who's ever asking
There
about
you go.
notes, Alicia, maybe you guys should connect there. I think it's Alicia asked about that. Somebody asked about flipping business entities. I don't know who's doing that. What type of business entity are you flipping? Oh,
I think he's saying, what type of
flipping in.
entity are you flipping in?
Yes.
LLC. Well, I mean, I use land trust, but it'd be an LLC.
So do you do LLC tax as S corp or LLC?
I think I'm an S.
Yeah. So typically what most accountants have told me in the past is you could do S corp or you can do LLC tax as an S corp. With a flipping business. Now with your rental business, you don't want it to be necessarily an S corp. It's a little bit better to be, without the S corp there. So, but definitely talk to your accountant about that. I think again, these questions I'm trying to get these questions to Jim, but it says, what are your fees and terms for lending? Again, if you're looking for conduit capital, you can definitely go there. Wendy has, Wendy, what is yours? Carolina Hard Money or
CarolinaHardMoney.com.
You guys can find out her rates there. You guys can go to UConduit Capital for ours. As far as Jim is concerned, though, he's not doing fees and terms, right? Like you're basically doing 50-50.
Well, I do, Tom. I've got a hard money loan. I mean, not a hard money loan. I got a private money loan out now, but I've got limited amounts of capital. I don't have a fund like you guys.
Right. So, I mean, most people are going to be somewhere between like 2 and 10 and 3 and 13 right now.
I've been lending at 10 and 1 or 10 and 2, and people tell me I'm too cheap, but I'm really careful who I'm working with. I want return of capital more than I want return of.
This is true. I cannot tell you more and more. I didn't even get to mention this, but I have found out in the last month as well that I have also kind of invested in something. I'm glad I didn't get it as deep as some of my friends have gotten in this, that, turned out that there was a whole sponsor partner that was a Ponzi scheme here. And it's not a fun piece to be a part of. So this integrity piece and knowing who you're doing business with, and not just knowing who you're doing business with, but knowing who they're doing business with is sometimes a very important piece. This is not an individual hard money loan to a property. And this is one of the benefits of doing one-on-one deals with people, is because there's an actual piece of property that can be taken back and can be split up in the future. And I know a lot of my friends now are thinking, okay, maybe I shouldn't be looking at more syndications like this was. Maybe I should be going back and doing more of these one-on-one deals with individuals where there's actual paperwork and an actual note and mortgage. So I know we don't have time to get into that too much, but I definitely wanted to hit that because it kind of seems like it keeps popping up, Jim.
Tom, can I mention this real quick? First of all, you knew that guy really well too. And that's what's so sad about the whole thing. Even when you know people really well,
I knew him, but I didn't know where the money was going.
Right.
I was told that this other place had all this stuff. We're finding out that all this place didn't have these contracts and didn't have all these things. So,
but what I really wanted to bring up is the question that talked about what are your rates and points and fees and stuff. That shouldn't be your question. I mean, of course that's important, but you need to find people that will do what they say they're going to do. If they say they're going to close your loan, it doesn't matter if you're paying 1 point more or 2% more on the interest rate. that doesn't matter. Are they going to close it? Are they going to do what they say they're going to do? How easy are they to work with? And you need to have a multitude of people like that, not just one. It's important to have a bunch of people that you know that will lend like this, because that is every house has its own personality. Every loan has its own personality. You need to find what fits.
Amen, Wendy. Chuck Glover is right.
You got it. You're preaching now, Wendy.
That'll
That's
preach.
awesome. So one more quick question. So we are out of time, guys, and I'm going to try to let Jim go. I know some speakers love to go on for like an extra half an hour past the time that we normally have for these calls, but I'm gonna let Jim go because he's not feeling well, and I appreciate you for being on. But I got one more question. It says, Jim, do you deal with DSCR commercial loans to purchase properties from sellers that want a high down payment?
I've done a couple DSCR loans. I know, Wendy, you've done some. Tom, you probably have as well. I think they do fill a gap when you need it.
Mm-hmm. We offer them, yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly how that fits in. I think my favorite way to finance long-term is with local regional banks.
Mm-hmm.
I've had really good success using portfolio loans, but just understand they're going to have, they're going to have to renew in like 7 years. So be aware of that, but that's where you'll get a better rate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and honestly, like sometimes I think people are so worried about that rate, right, Wendy? Like they don't understand the difference between like an 8.25 and a 10% private money loan is not much difference, guys. Like I think we get really hung up on these, like what does that number say versus how much money is actually going out of my pocket. And actually also how, like the way I look at my private lenders is like, they are part of my family almost. Like I look at my private lenders as like, I'm helping them reach financial freedom. And if I give them this 10% that I'm giving to them, like there's just so much value in that sometimes it's not worth that extra 1.5% that you might get a discount from a bank. And when you really start thinking that way and you really embody that, like your lenders know, and now your lenders know that you're not just in this for yourself, you really are in it for them. And that changes the whole world. That changes the whole game. And that's why we have 215 people now on my private lenders list in Podio. Like that's why we had to create a fund. That's why I had to create other opportunities. Because like Jim, I don't want to do, I'm doing way more deals than Jim is, but I still didn't want to, I couldn't do as much deals as I had money to be able to keep busy. And in a certain way, you do start feeling, not obligated because it's not your responsibility, but it's not, I mean, really, Jim, it's not your responsibility to make them money, but I feel like there is a little bit of obligation and a little bit of, hey,
I do treat them like family though, Tom, you're right. And I do want to, they've been good to me over the years. So I want to return that favor. So I'm doing that by connecting them to my kids.
I have one of my lenders. I didn't know Paul was on here, but he just piped in and said, thank you for taking care of my capital. So appreciate that, Paul. But anyways, thank you again for being on, Jim. And you guys got to hear a little bit of Wendy already. So there was a little bit of a sneak peek there.
Wendy's the best.
For next call. I love spending, honestly, like if there's two people in the whole world that I could go on a cruise with and it'd just be me and my wife
we'd hang out.
And a couple of different people, like these two people would be in that very short list of my.
Well, we should do that.
Yeah, we really should. I mean, we got to figure this out, guys.
I agree.
But appreciate everybody for being on. Thank you, Jim, for investing in our community. I'm just going to kind of close this out just a little bit, back to a couple slides that I've got. I apologize for naming. I didn't do this, but it is my fault here. I did not look at this beforehand, but Jim Ingersoll, Wendy Sweet, will be on next month at June 13th at 10 a.m. I'd love to have you guys. This is a free call. There's nothing that I do to try to This is just a free call, trying to build the community, try to help everybody, and connect everybody, and have a little bit of fun as well. But next month will be Wendy Sweet will be on June 13th. And if you guys are local, June 15th will be our next investor meetup group. Hopefully you guys can make it to that. Remember, guys, be a conduit, not a bucket. Work to have to give. God bless. Hope everybody has a good day. Thank you guys for being on.